What's going on, everybody? This is Chris Classic, dropping a car vlog. Hope you guys and gals are having a wonderful day. If nobody tells you, remember that God loves you, Christ loves you, and I love you as well. I'm praying for you guys. Hopefully you guys are praying for me. I know this is a troubling time with friends and family, but we're going to trust God. We're going to walk with God. God tells us about these kind of things. It doesn't take away the pain, but it does tell us that life do be life. That's a good and a bad thing. Love you guys. Make sure you subscribe to the Taking On podcast, where I talk about professional wrestling topics and I put up my matches. It's classic out for a professional wrestler of 14 years. Definitely a blessing to make 14. Make sure you also subscribe to C3 Ultimate Wrestling. That is me and my wife's professional wrestling company. You guys know there's a lot of craziness that's going on with me and her right now. I can't really speak about a lot of the stuff. One, because it's personal, and two, it's just like trying to differentiate business and personal. It's definitely hard to try to bring things out. You know, I do believe in private life, right? To a certain extent when it comes to the things with wrestling. In the meantime, you could go to the C3 Ultimate Wrestling page and you could watch Big Business in its entirety. The last show we had February 21st, as we are getting ready for our 20th show called 20, May 23rd, Dyer, Indiana, Harold's private venue. Tickets are on sale now on Eventbrite. They're $5 off, but there'll be $5 more at the door bars. Mercedes Moné, she has been winning titles, and now she is on the circuit of losing all of her titles. I think she has like 3 left, or it could be 2 as this live is going on. I don't know, but a lot of people have seen her. She has made waves since debuting in AEW, winning championships, having an undefeated streak for a bit, having the 12 titles, and then a lot of people were like, okay, well, she's definitely going to win the women's belt, the main one in AEW. She challenged for it twice, I believe, and then she lost despite the fact having all of these belts. And a lot of people are like, okay, well, she's going to lose all of these belts, and then she's going to go after the women's title. And that's happening. You look, sometimes things can be predictable, and it can still be fun. It can still be interesting and stuff like that. To me, I don't really care much for it, because I couldn't tell you 10 of the companies that she had a belt on. And it's no disrespect to her, nor the companies that she wrestled for. But the thing is this, right? You have to make us care about that. Besides her having 12 belts, you have to make people care. I think if AEW did want to make people care, they would have done a little bit more with that. You know, I don't know if they did a video or compilation of her winning the titles and stuff like that. That way, it could help. I think independent wrestling and AEW was trying to show gratitude to Mercedes Moné because of her being a woman of the Girls Revolution, with those 4 women that were in NXT. And I think the independent scene also did it too, and a business grab too. Paying her a lot of money to get views and to get more people to buy tickets and stuff like that. Yeah, it's just part of the business or whatever like that. But still, as far as her losing the titles, hey, it's going to happen. A lot of people are like, hey, she's going to put over a lot of people, which she will. But at the same time, I think the first time she loses is going to have a bigger impact than the 12th time she loses, because it's a pattern, right? It's a pattern. And that's just one of those things that if you are one of the last few belts that she has, I don't think it's going to be as amazing as when she lost it the first time, with people being shocked. You know, when she lost the TBS title to Willow and stuff like that. But still, I just wanted to say that real quick. But she was on a podcast, and she spoke about, well, the person, the interviewee was the interviewer was asking her about women being paid as much as men in wrestling, and Mercedes said, yes, women should have been getting paid as much as the men. And I wanted to talk about that. And I know a lot of people are probably going to feel a certain way. I know some people are going to rock with me or whatever like that, but we're going to be honest about the situation. Now, women's wrestling is very, very popular. Like, there are a lot of companies that have switched their whole groundwork and layout and foundation of their company to put it around more women's wrestling. That is a good and a bad thing, because viral moments and stuff like that. Title Match Wrestling, shout out to them. Shout out to their channel. It's a Title Match Network. Shout out to them. They have millions of views for a lot of their women's matches and intergender matches. There was a time where intergender matches was just like the biggest thing, and that skyrocketed to the popularity of more women's wrestling online. Brian Cage, as big as he is, going against smaller women like Tessa Blanchard and wrestling for 15 minutes. Not my cup of tea, doesn't quench my thirst at all, but millions of people watching. A lot of people watch these matches and stuff. Brian Cage has faced her as multiple times. Jordynne Grace has faced a lot of men and stuff like that. And to me, as far as theory and stuff like that, it don't make sense to me. Can they be good matches and not make sense? Yes, it's wrestling. That's just the kind of stuff that happens. But still, I reiterate this because that boom in wrestling and for women's wrestling and popularity, a lot of women do get paid more than the men on the independent side for sure. You'd be surprised. As a booker, I've contacted a lot of women that I was big fans of, still are, and I felt like they had a huge rate, like way more than the average person that we do pay for C3. Not going into numbers and specifics and stuff like that, but still, there are some women that do get paid a lot more than than men on wrestling. Now, we're gonna even bring it back to Mercedes Moné. Do you honestly believe that Dwayne Martin from Top Flight or his brother Dante, they are getting paid more than Mercedes Moné? Do you think a lot of people there are getting paid more than Mercedes Moné? No. No. See, this is the thing about it, right? I understand people trying to stick up for other people and things like that, but sometimes you do have to read the room a little bit. I do think that, like, if a Charlotte or somebody wanted to go to AEW and stuff like that, they probably would have as much as Mercedes. And I felt like, Mercedes felt like she was undercut and undervalued. And, AEW and other companies, they definitely are telling her that they appreciate her, which is definitely dope. I remember when she did get signed, a lot of people speculated. Didn't ask. Not to say you should, it's a private life. Speculated what's going on. Speculated that she had one of the highest contracts in AEW. Now, if she does have it, I'm not mad at that at all. I'm not mad at that. If you can get that, go ahead and get that and stuff like that. But when it comes to certain situations like this, if she is one of the highest paid wrestlers, not just women's wrestlers, then okay, you got what you want out of it. And I do understand that you want to have other women do it, but I always side eye when it comes to people either trying to be martyrs or trying to be something, because sometimes people just be wanting to say, hey, I did this and I did that. Mercedes Moné has made history as a women's wrestler, as a wrestler in general. She has made history, and that's nothing that people can take away from her. But it's sort of like, it's sort of like politicians in a way. There's a lot of wrestlers that say we need this and we need that and we need this and we need that. But most of the time it's we need them. We need that one person. That's how they feel. And then when things start to happen, they get upset. See, sometimes when you're trying to be a martyr, when you're trying to be the voice of the voiceless or the voice of the people, mind you, women's wrestlers, she's not the voice of the voiceless. They have a lot of voices. A lot of women are saying protect women's wrestling and stuff like that. And a lot of them are not protecting women's wrestling. They should be protecting women's wrestling because they're women's wrestling. But still, that's another video. But still, the thing about people, especially with this generation, about trying to be a martyr or trying to be a trailblazer or a trendsetter, is that they try to live off the fruits that they are, off the seeds they're planting. They try to eat the fruit after planting the seeds. Now, you do know that when you plant seeds, that sometimes it is a long process. And sometimes people don't even live to see the fruit blossom, but somebody else eats off of that tree. I'm trying to be philosophical, but you guys know what I mean when I say that kind of. But at the time, I do think that Mercedes can see the fruit for the most part. But I do think that want to do this and they want to do that, and it's like they want to be known for sparking the change, but is it like legit? There's allegations that Swerve is just the token main event guy for AEW. Now, I never said it, but it's a speculation about that situation. And people are like, oh, well, this is why Swerve, I heard Swerve is this and I heard Swerve is that. And those are the things that you do have to be careful about when you try to say things. And I'm a big fan of Swerve. I love his comments about being a champion, not just a black champion, but just an AEW world champion and stuff like that. But sometimes people did feel a certain way. Now, with wrestling, and especially like WWE and stuff like that, sometimes people get paid off of, popularity and merch sales. Alexa Bliss was a big merch seller at one point. She was on TV every week. whether she was a champion or she was not. She was definitely a merch seller, and she was everywhere. She won a whole bunch of championships. She's won matches I didn't even think she needed to win. She's a merch seller and stuff like that. Mercedes, merch seller. A lot of these women were merch sellers or people dressed like them in cosplay and stuff like that. Went to autograph signings and went to a lot of things and stuff like that. I remember when Mercedes and Naomi, they were doing their autograph signings and stuff, and I remember that people were upset because when they went to take a picture with Mercedes was like 6 feet away because it was social distancing, but also people can be creeps. But they paid like $120 something just for a picture to have so much space between, and people went for it. And it was like, I know people felt a certain way, and I feel a certain way too. If I'm in this long line, I'm in this long line, right? And I'm sitting here, or maybe she's one of my favorite wrestlers, and I gotta do that. And I understand she has a right to be that way. Some people, they said that they wanted to take the picture, and they took the picture. But still, what I'm saying is, she is a very successful female wrestler, right? She's very successful, and I do understand trying to pull people up and trying to help people and things like that. But I don't fully agree with women need to be paid as much as men, because some of these women are getting already paid more than the men. You're going to tell me that Charlotte, you're going to tell me that some of these women, they don't get paid as much. I remember people was talking about like their salaries and stuff like that. I remember like Braun Strowman was getting like $450,000 a year and stuff like that. That's why his contract is the way it is now. I remember Charlotte having a bigger contract more than Sasha did, and I felt Mercedes, and I felt like, dang, I feel like Mercedes should have had like a little closer to that amount. But still, like, to me, it's a subjective situation. It's definitely subjective. I've seen women that wrestle greats. I've seen women that have done moves that men can't do. I've seen that kind of stuff. I've seen that kind of magic. I've seen women that want to be wrestlers, and that's all they ever want to do and have talent. But then I've also seen women on the independent scene are twerking, and they're taking shots, and they're touching on each other, they're feeling on each other and stuff. And it's going viral. And these women, mind you, are supposed to be trained, but they're acting like untrained. They're acting unclean. They're just acting crazy. And when I say unclean, I don't mean that they're dirty. I'm just saying, like, you're not wrestling. You're just collecting a check. You're obviously collecting a check. Then when you go to the back, the promoter's giving you a high five saying it was a great match when it wasn't. I've seen women promote other companies and stuff like that, and they just don't wrestle that well. They don't practice. They don't do nothing. They don't elevate. So it's like you want women to get paid as much, but still. And that's the same thing with even men's wrestling. Like, my thing is this, because when you criticize women wrestling, a lot of people want to throw tomatoes at you and say, oh, well, men this and men that. Hey, I criticize all wrestling for the most part. So you can't sit and try to tell me that I can't say nothing. I'm a wrestler too. I've seen it, and I'm a promoter. I've tried to book wrestlers, and then when they gave me a rate, the work rate don't match the pay rate that they asking for. So I've seen these kind of things, and it's like, we just need to do better. Now, women's wrestling used to be an attraction. You guys know that. Like tag team, women's wrestling used to be an attraction. Hey, come see this. It's just like one match. Now women do get more opportunities. They're on a card too. They have more than one match. They have, since 2 nights of WrestleMania, they have a lot of matches and stuff like that. Women are getting big contracts and stuff like that. I can't sit here and say it's a demand, because especially for WWE, the money is already made. The money is already made. Like, to me, I don't think that the statement was unnecessary, but it's like, okay, like, it's easy. And it's like I said, I'm not trying to even count her money. I'm truly not. I'm not even trying to count her money about the situation. But still, it's like, you are one of the highest paid, potentially, women's wrestlers. Now, if you are trying to be this martyr and trying to help people and stuff like that, you got to tell these women that they got to work hard. They got to work hard. The twerkers got to stop twerking. Like, work hard and practice. Like, Mercedes practices. She shows clips of her practicing all over the world. Chicago, Japan. She goes to a lot of places and practice and stuff like that. Some of these women don't do that. Like, if anything, you should try to encourage them to match your work ethic, and maybe something like that can definitely help. But on the independent scene, these women getting paid. If they wrestle or not, or they're a good wrestler or not, these women are getting paid. Like, look, I know some people are sharing it, and some independent women wrestlers are sharing it, but some of y'all getting paid a lot more. Y'all getting paid 3-4 times the amount as the men. So it's like, hey, it's become a demand. A lot of guys and some of y'all know that people want to see women's wrestling, even if it's bad. Like some people will pay to see a women's match just because it's there, and then it'll be a bad match and they'll still love it and pay to see it over and over and over again. A lot of women are learning how to market themselves. Some are marketing their wrestling skill, some are marketing their feet, some are marketing their body or whatever like that. You know, regardless how I feel about the situation, women are becoming more of a brand for themselves and stuff like that at an all-time high. Now, as far as I can't talk about mainstream TV and stuff like that, but honestly, when I think of AEW with Mercedes Moné, what woman wrestler do you think needs to be paid as much as her? Maybe Tony? Maybe? Y'all gonna give it to Tony? Like, does Tony get paid as much? I know she's taking a break and whatnot and all that, but you know, Tony's been busting her, you know what? You know, Willow, she's a TBS champion, but she get lost in the sauce because she's also the women's tag champion with Harley Cameron, and they, like, who else? Who else? Like, I don't even want to try to bring in ratings, but ratings is also a great standpoint too. Do you have a dip in ratings when y'all come on, or is it an increase? Sometimes it's an increase, right? So I do think it's like more factors to it, but I also think that we need to be honest. Now, I'm going to sit here and tell you, I didn't watch the whole interview. So if she did reiterate that, like, you know, some women do get paid more than the men, I do apologize. But at the same time, when I'm looking at companies and stuff like that, and these women are getting paid. They are getting booked. They getting flued out. You know how many women go to Japan now for a show? These women's getting flued out. They getting flued out to companies and stuff to wrestle for 5 to 6, 7 minutes and stuff. You know, I live near Chicago. It's a lot of stuff in Berwyn. There's a lot of stuff in Chicago and all of that stuff. Women from all over the world are coming over here and they're wrestling and stuff. All over the states and stuff. They're getting paid. They have companies. They used to have all women's companies. They still do, but low key, the way the amount of money that they be asking for, some of them went under. Mission Pro, Thunder Rosa's company. I don't know if it's because of money, but she just closed her all women's wrestling company not too long ago. What's going on, y'all? Women's Wrestling Army, Maria's show. It was mostly in Berwyn and in, you know, Chicago areas. They don't do shows no more. It could be all kind of stuff. Like, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but still, like I said, I'm happy she is getting the money. She's getting the recognition and stuff like that. I think the women, just like the men who do work hard and stuff like that, you know, and if you know your worth and it's your worth, bars, you should get paid. You should get paid as much and stuff like that. But if these people don't care for it, then you either try to make your own brand or you do something else different. But I did want to speak about that. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys agree with her? Do you disagree with her? Let me know. This is Chris Classic. Let's take it home.